Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Madcapper and this is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Welcome back, and as you can see, I actually have a video of myself working my big bald head and my bearded face for your viewing pleasure. I just thought I'd try to use it. I don't get to use it very often because in the area I'm at, the lighting is so bad. I don't have any backlighting or anything, so typically it's a whiteout, but in this very dark moment, I actually have the ability to use it without being a total whitewash. Well, any more than it is being this Casper guy in front of you. So today we're going to talk about the Dragon's Lair. This is the final in the series that I've created for you. It is the Dragon 13. And this is going to be the starting point for any continuing raid player who wants to actually progress in the game. When you get to the dungeons, this is the first one you want to be able to farm. If you cannot farm 13, please go back to the campaign and get more level 60s, get other champions up there until you can get to that level. There is no point farming these levels, and I'll tell you the reason why is Stage 13 is where you get that 4 to 6 instead of 4 to 5 star ability. It's 14 energy rather than 16 as some of the later ones, but the difference between stage 11, which is 12 energy but only gives you 4 to 5 star, and of course getting that 4 to 6 star at stage 13 is a completely game-changing ability. Getting one of those 6 stars that has a decent primary stat will definitely progress your champions further. So the reason why the Dragon's Lair is so important, the reason why I decided to focus on it first, is a little recap before we move on to the actual stats of Dragon 13. The set speed. Speed is arguably the most important stat in the game, and given that fact, we want to make sure that we have enough speeds, and especially early mid-game when you're getting some sets and you're using sets that may not be min-maxed, you do want those set bonuses there. Absolutely critically important. Also, in certain areas, like for example the arena, when you're pushing speeds of over 300, you absolutely need those speed sets in order to be able to effectively hit those numbers. Without speed set bonuses, you are not going to get those numbers, and this is how you do it. This is where you get it. You do not farm it from the campaign, you get it from right here in the Dragon Dungeon, and 13 is where you can start getting those first 6-star pieces of gear. Also, if you're hitting the clan boss, and also for your initial campaign farmer, there is every reason to believe you're probably using lifesteal gear in order to keep them alive long enough to do the damage you need to do. Most people use from normal all the way up to Ultra Nightmare are using lifesteal gear on their champions. There are notable exceptions if you have a bad Alcazar and you have a min-max team so much that you can hit that 20 to 25 million per key without the use of lifesteal, or if you're using an unkillable comp where lifesteal isn't needed because you can never die in the comp. It's very important. Also, now is a great time to be doing the dragon runs because there is a tournament going on. You want to be able to get this gear. You'll get some extra rewards. Maybe you'll hit number 1 and get some of that relentless gear. I've done my first set of runs. I am well ahead in the lead, and I intend to stay there because I need this gear. And this is the only place, of course, to get lifesteal gear. Speed gear is the best place. Also, accuracy. Do not overlook the fact that sometimes you can min-max gear and you just don't get the accuracy rolls on it, but you have a couple accuracy pieces that might have, 6-star defense with great substats, but one of those substats just isn't accuracy, or it's early in the game and you either don't have a banner or you don't have the right banners to get the accuracy level you need. Then here is a great place to farm that. So that gear is arguably critically important too. Frost gear is situationally important. Use it on a champion like Molly, who uses an AoE taunt. People hit her, there's a 20% chance of her freezing them when she is attacked. And of course, stalwart gear, I use that on a lot of attack champions that I'm using in dungeons. One example is Phoenix. I use him when I'm manually going after the ice golem because he can block revive. He's one of the best champions I particularly have on block revive. I did 6-star him for a different video. I haven't posted that video because I'm not really happy with how it went so far, but I want to do a couples therapy, if you will, type of video, and so I have both him and Talia Max, and I want to put them together and see, is it really worth it to go with those paired bonuses? But that's neither here nor there. The fact is I use him in stalwart gear, and the reason is quite simple, because it adds to his survivability, which is critical in dungeons. If he can't get to the boss, then he's no good. If he dies on the first 2 hits from that boss's AoE, he's no good. So this mitigates that damage by 30%, keeps him alive, so he can block those revives on those 2 ads, and boom, the ice golem then is a straightforward shot to the win. So let's talk about, again, we're going to 13. I can do. I guess I can do a 13 run with this team. I actually ran this with my alt account because I felt it was more advantageous to run it there. I probably wouldn't use most of the gear here, especially I wasn't sure what the rarity disparity would be between the different levels. So I wanted to run it here where if the rarity was, if I was getting a lot of rares and epics and not a whole lot of legendaries, then at least I'm using it in an account that still needs that stuff, and I wasn't selling 95% of the gear, for example. Whereas on my main account, if that was the case, it was going to go to waste largely. So there's no point running it, but I will throw something in the background just so we have some white noise while we take a look. So without further ado, let's go take a look at the spreadsheet. I'm going to bring it up here for Dragon 13. Actually, I'm going to bring up Dragon 16 as a recap. So Dragon 16, which is my last one, I have fixed it. It is a little bit smaller. I hope you can see that pretty well. If not, there will be a link in the description down below to open up all the Dragon runs, 13, 16, 19, and 20, and compare for yourself. But essentially, this is what we did last time, and the big thing to note is that 4-star, 5-star, 6-star distribution is getting a lot heavier onto the 4-star side. It actually was the greatest single piece that I dropped, almost identical. I almost think that probably it would have evened out between 4 and 5 with enough runs, and that 6-star is down to 15% drop, but 15% of course better than 0%. And the artifact rarity, and that is the part that surprised me, is within a margin of error. I believe it is the exact same as both 19 and 20. 20 actually I've run a lot more runs. I've run over 400 times now, and in that I have the least amount of legendary drops. But keep in mind that some of those legendary drops were actually 4-star, so I sold them anyway. But just so you know, for distribution of legendary, epic, and rare, it's about the same amongst the three. Now, is that going to be the same for 13? Well, let's go take a look. And here's my 100 runs on 13. Dragon 13, just as it loads up here, the first thing you'll notice is that, boom, 6% was only 3% a drop rate. So what this told me, and this is interesting because I said at the beginning of this match, and this is kind of what everyone has thought of, is that Dragon 13 is more important than running and pushing for Dragon 16. But if we are going from a 15% distribution of 6-star to a 3% distribution of 6-star, it begs to ask the question, if you can do 16, but maybe you're doing it at 90%, despite the odd burnt energy from the loss, say I lose 10 runs out of 100, is it not better to get 15 6-star pieces, of which maybe 8 of them will be useful, especially early game, maybe all 15 will be useful, as opposed to only getting, what are the actual numbers? I actually got, well, we got 2, 3. We actually got 3 pieces. Oh, yeah, that's 104 runs. I'm an idiot. 2.9%, of course, is 3. So I got no legendary 6-star. I got 2 epics, and I got 1 rare piece. Boy, that's a pretty weak distribution of 6-star artifacts. So based on that, we'll probably come to some conclusions later. But I will say that artifact rarity, in my opinion, is still within the margin of error, I think. Now, what I do believe is when you drop down to this level and you're paying that 14 versus 16 energy. So if we go back to stage selection here, and we'll go back to that for a second here. When we look here, we see that stage 20 obviously costs 16. Stage 16 was 14 energy, so I thought it might drop the rarity, but the numbers actually held pretty strong. But here in 13, one could argue it is within the margin of error, but it is a pretty big steep push to rare from epic and legendary. Legendary down to 4.8 from, I think it was 8% at 19 and about 7.2% at 16. I am at about 5.5% on my Dragon 20 runs, but I think that's just been a low run, and I think it'll pop back up. But it is interesting to know that even the epic has dropped 28, 27 kind of range down to 22, and the rare is 72.1. Now, 100 runs, that may not be enough to completely say for sure that artifact rarity is changing on that Dragon 13. But if this trend continues, and that is the case, then absolutely this might be an opportunity to say, hey, you're better off running Dragon 16 at about a 90% win rate than Dragon 13 at a 100% win rate, because you're getting undeniably fewer 6-star items, and argumentatively possibly getting an artifact rarity of a much higher distribution to the rare. So when you put those two together, you're just getting weaker gear. Now, I did keep a lot of this gear, 31% of it for an alt account. I did get some mystery shards. That is the other thing to keep in mind. 13 will drop mystery shards, and it will drop mugs. And I got a total of 18 on my runs. So I got 104 artifacts out of 122 runs. 18 of the times I either got a brew or an artifact. I know that because I precisely timed the amount of energy I was using. And based on that energy, this is what came out. So I didn't see exactly what was shards and what was mugs. I didn't see any ancient shards either. So I think you don't get those drops. I can't confirm that, but that's another thing I've kind of noticed that could be a possible issue. So also, finally, the average sale price is just over 17,000. And when I see all this data, I do think when you look at 16 here, 23,000, you see a lot more artifacts that are in that 6-star, 5-star range, and you see that artifact rarity at a much better result. I gotta say, final thoughts here. It is, in my opinion, which is just an opinion, you do you. It's your account, it's your energy, it's possibly your money or your free-to-play account. But for me, what I would do and what I plan to do with my account is rather than farming stage 13 that I know I can pass 100%, I'm pushing 16, I'm pushing 19, I'm pushing 20, especially 13 to 16, because that seems to be a very large drop in both star rating and rarity. And combined, those two not only lower the amount of good quality gear, usable gear that I'm going to get, but on top of that, and almost more of a pain, is the artifacts that I can't use, I'm selling at a much lower average because I'm getting so many more 4-star and so fewer epic and legendary items. So, man, I can't tell you what to do, but if it were me, I would definitely run Dragon 16. I'd push for high. I wouldn't if it's 50-50. Obviously, you have to make that determination where that point of failure is that you're okay with. But if you're in the high, above 90, I would say percent passing, definitely push for that higher level, because as you look at it, the data is here quite clearly. You're gonna get better gear. So I think we should end this by just kind of taking a look at each of them. Again, Dragon 13, we just talked about. Not a whole lot to talk about there. You can see the distribution between what type of artifacts. So you got the weapon, helm, shield, gloves, chest, boots. You can get the totals of 6-star legendary epic rare and 5-star legendary epic rare. What percentage of them are flat versus attack, HP, and defense percent, crit rate, crit damage, speed, accuracy, and resistance. Obviously, accuracy and resistance only on chest, and the crit rate, crit damage only on gloves. But you have, and speed only on boots. But you have all that distribution there as a main stat, of course. You have all that information there you can look at for Dragon 13. As we move up Dragon 16, you're going to see a higher distribution of 6-star stuff in all categories. You're going to see pretty much split down the middle. I would say that there's a pretty even distribution of the different types, whether it's flat or whether it's percentage based or whether it's the specialty ones depending on the gear. For example, there are 34 flat base, but keep in mind that includes the top 3, which can only roll flat. The bottom ones here, you see 3, 5. There was 7 total of flat stats versus 4, 7, and 8 is 15. 16, 17, 18, 20, 22 total items that were specialty based, I'd like to call them, for lack of a better term. So I think that all in all, you're going to look at getting better quality gear out of the 16 than 13. And as we keep progressing, it is diminishing returns, in my opinion, because as you look at Dragon 19, you're getting only a slightly better value on sale. You're getting maybe a 8%, 7% extra to the 5-star, 4-star distribution. You're getting a few more 6-star as well. The artifact rarity seems to be within the same margin of error between the two. Maybe a little bit better here over time, but arguably very close. And as a side note, there was, of course, margin of error when you're only doing 100 runs, but I feel like the artifact type held pretty strong towards getting that stalwart and avenging gear more so than everything else. I will show you my Dragon 20 because on the last set of runs that I ran for the tournament, it was a little bit different. I did get a weird, strange anomaly when it came to accuracy gear, and we'll show that one last. Here's Dragon 20, the final runs, and as you can see here, you've got an error in my system here. We're gonna look at the Dragon 20. I broke something. Probably that's messing it up. I don't know. Yeah, sorry. I had a little 111 there to remember how many items I sold on my last set of runs there, and it kind of messed up. But so you see that Stalwart is at 14.9. It is still, and Avenging is still higher than the rest. But you see accuracy, suddenly, accuracy was around 8%. And then I got 20, I believe it was 26 accuracy pieces on my last set of runs, which I sold 111. I don't remember the total runs. It was around 150 runs. And to have that disparity is absolutely crazy. But this, I have 483 total runs here. There is a slight disparity between the numbers because there's a couple pieces due to glitching that didn't get that I lost mid recording. But there's only a couple units, so it's pretty fair to say this is a reasonable distribution. You see that 71% 5-star, 28.5% 6-star. So you're still getting much more 6-star. You're getting much more quality gear, and even the 5-star gear is worthwhile. The rare, epic, legendary, I feel like the epic is slowly creeping up. It's a little less pronounced than that 13 to 16, but you're still at that 29.3%. So I feel like that's probably going to normalize around 30%. I feel like legendary will probably creep up if I were to keep going. I feel like I had a couple really bad runs and I had a couple of normal runs. So if I had a couple runs at 8%, which is what I expected to be around, or 7%, and then I had a lot of runs. I had the last set of runs where it was at like 3%. So it brought it down. If I keep doing this, which I will keep adding my dragon runs to it, you're probably going to see a little bit better overall distribution of artifact rarity. But definitely that epic seems to want to hit that between 29 and 30%, which is obviously the better you can, the more you can see those secondary stats so you can roll them multiple times, the better you are. So that's about it. That's how I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed the video series. If you need any help at all, I am on Discord, link in the description below. Part of my guild's Discord. I don't have my own. I don't plan on building my own or hosting my own, but I do. I am available there. Just private message me, ask me your question. You can also leave a message in the comments down below. I do my best to answer all of them within a 24-hour period. And if there's anything else you want me to do, any other videos, I do plan on doing spider runs eventually, but I have to know that you guys want to. I'm not going to do this just for me. So if it, I know what I'm doing, I know what and I see. So if you're interested, I will definitely go ahead. But if you're not, then we'll just leave it at this Dragon series. And most of all, last but not least, if you love the video, please give it a like, give it a share, and hit subscribe. I would love to see more of you subscribe so that I know that I'm not talking to myself out in the world. Thanks a lot. Final thoughts. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it and have a super fantastic day, evening, night, whatever it may be. Don't get used to my ugly face because most of the time I won't be having it on. And hope to see you on Twitch sometime or back here on YouTube. Either way, make sure to keep your stick on the ice. And please, dear, please, don't eat yellow snow. Ever. Good night.